Market Facilitation Service is a new service that CII has started. We are pleased to inform you that we have started this service, which offers a bouquet of trade and investment facilitation services to Indian companies seeking new markets and opportunities. Our vision is to create a gateway for our members and an enabling environment for enhancing a flow of trade, investment, and technology between India and various countries. The Market Facilitation Services brochure and the presentations of today's webinar will be mailed to all the participants. We are delighted to have Ambassador Sajanhar, Dr. Karimov, and Mr. Pradhan on this webinar. Ambassador Sajanhar has very kindly agreed to chair this webinar. A brief introduction of the Ambassador. The Ambassador has worked for the IFS for over 3 decades. He was the Ambassador of India to Kazakhstan, Sweden, and Latvia, and has worked in diplomatic positions in Washington, Brussels, Moscow, Geneva, Tehran, Dhaka, and Bangkok. He is currently the President of the Institute of Global Studies in New Delhi. Welcome, Ambassador, and over to you.
I speak here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Geeta. Good afternoon, and let me say what a great pleasure it is for me to be part of this webinar that you are organizing. My warm congratulations and felicitations to you and to your team in for organizing this, and I think it is really the way to go forward as far as use of technology in getting business people together. Now, what I propose to do with your permission, Greta, if that's all right, is to speak for maybe about 15 minutes or so, try to give a general overview of the situation as it prevails and as it exists in Central Asian countries, particularly as far as business relations are concerned, and then invite the other speakers that you have mentioned, Dr. Karimov and one more, Mr. Pradhan, also to make presentations, and then leave it open for question, answers, and comments. I may say that, when I am speaking, if any of the participants would like to intervene, interject, and ask your clarification or have a question, I'll be very happy to respond to that right away. If that's all right, then I can go ahead and make my short presentation on Central Asia. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Good. So, first when we are looking at Central Asia, I think it is important to keep in mind that although we speak about Central Asian republics, but the 5 republics, we're starting with Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan, that they are extremely diverse nations. They are extremely diverse countries. Even within a country like Kazakhstan, there are great variations. So I think we need to keep that at the back of our mind, that although in a general manner we might say call it as Central Asia, but all of them have their own specificities and peculiarities. Secondly, that this region, all the 5 countries, they became independent in 1991. They have 1991, after the breakup of the Soviet Union, they have celebrated 25 anniversaries or 25th anniversary of their independence. And I think it is known to most of the people who are part of this webinar that these 5 countries really never wanted to become independent, and independence, in a manner of speaking, was thrust upon them. But what is important to remember is that all these countries have by and large been stable since the last 25-26 years. There have been a little ups and downs, whether it is in Uzbekistan in 2005, whether it is in Kazakhstan a little bit in 2016, in Kyrgyzstan in 2005 and 2010, but by and large they have all been stable. And more importantly, in 2011, we saw the whole region of West Asia or Middle East that it was afflicted by what is came to be known as the Arab Spring, but none of those political convulsions was able to affect these countries. That having been said, I think we need to recognize that over the last 25, 26 years, all these countries have moved forward. There have been huge changes. And of course, whatever has been happening over recent years, whether it is the rise of China, whether it is the rise again, the resurgence of Russia, in terms of the what is happening in Europe, in the United States, the new administration, all these disruptive changes are also having an impact on these countries. Now let me come briefly to some of these countries. I will not spend too long on each individual country except on the major economic powers, and rather than going through the history of how they have developed or evolved over the last 25, 26 years, I will try to focus on what is the present situation and what are the present, so to say, challenges and opportunities that are available to our business people. So first, let me come to Kazakhstan. It is the largest republic, largest country in in Central Asia. Largest in terms of area, yes, not in terms of population, but in terms of other economic indicators also it is a large country. It is the area is about 2.8 million square kilometers, which makes it really the 9th largest country in the world. And for information of some of us, it is just a little bit smaller than India, which is 3.2 million square kilometers. Now it is extremely rich in natural resources, in mineral resources. It says that if there are about 110 elements in the Mendeleev table, Kazakhstan has commercially viable quantities of at least 105 of them. So whether it is iron ore, it is coal, it is gold, it is uranium, oil, gas, lead, zinc, you name the minerals, and it is rich in those. So it's a rich country, and it has been registering even double-digit growth over the last the first 1.5 decades since of this century. But the huge slump in oil prices in 2014, that had a very severe impact on its economy, and it had to bring down its exchange rate of currency. So from about $240 billion, which was its GDP in 2014, currently it has a GDP in the range of about $135 billion because its currency had to be devalued in a very significant manner. Its GDP growth rates also had to be slashed down very significantly, and they were in the range of 1% in 2015, 1% in 2016. But what is notable is that many countries which registered negative rates of growth, Kazakhstan never had to resort to that. Now the World Bank says that in going forward, it will be registering, that its rate of growth in 2017 will be about 2.4%. In this has been going to be revised to 3.7%, and also going forward 2018 to 2020, again the rate of growth will be about in the range of 3% plus. So it provides great possibilities. But two aspects let me mention which are extremely disconcerting. One is that much of the economy is focused on natural resources, on oil, on gas, on iron ore, on other natural resources. So there has been a great attempt in terms of diversification of this of the economy. The second aspect is that corruption is endemic as far as this country is concerned, and all recent reports, whether by the WEF, the World Economic Forum, or the World Bank, they have identified corruption as the most important, most significant debilitating factor as far as Kazakhstan is concerned. That having been said, it still maintains its position in terms of ease of doing business is still number 15, and as our participants would notice, India was 142 about 3 years ago and has been able to reach the level of 100 in terms of ease of doing business last year. So in terms of ease of doing business, this is quite good. The areas which provide great opportunities, one is agriculture, because there the productivity is very low, the efficiency is very low, and I recall when I was ambassador there, then the president had particularly mentioned that they would be very happy to invite Indian farmers to come, take land, and to be able to work on that and engage in agriculture. So that is one area where we could look at. The other is in the area of construction. That is because there's huge construction. As I said, it's a large country. Infrastructure is not up to the mark. They have the money, and also the international agencies, financial funding agencies and banks like the World Bank, like the EBRD, like the European Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, Asian Development Bank, all of them are extending support to this country. As far as India is concerned, our business, I could identify 2 or 3 areas which are of particular interest, and both in terms not only of trade but also in terms of investment. One is pharmaceuticals, and that there is a huge requirement. Indian pharmaceuticals have proved their mettle in terms both of quality as also of pricing. So organizing joint ventures and establishing projects there in Kazakhstan to meet the domestic demand, that has huge possibilities. And I know it for a fact because on several occasions when I was there, the President, Mr. Nazarbayev, had personally approached me and said that we would very warmly welcome the Indian companies who have such excellent track records. The other is in the area of textiles and also in the area of consumer goods, because Kazakhstan also has good supplies of cotton, good quality cotton. So I think that is something that we can look at. The normal consumer goods also, there is good possibility that we should, we can have, there would be good possibility for our businessmen. The way to go, there are a large number of international projects that are going on, and I think our companies can engage in subcontracting or entering into joint ventures. Software and IT is another area which has good potential. Some of our companies have been there. Subcontracting in the oil and gas sector also has significant possibilities. There is not enough knowledge that is available. There's not enough information that is available in terms of what is happening in Kazakhstan. And our companies, I would very strongly recommend, should participate in trade fairs, should participate in trade shows. And what we also need to do is we need to tell the Kazakh authorities and the Kazakh government that there should be there should be easier facilitation as far as giving visas, particularly for businessmen, is concerned. 2 aspects before I go on to the other country, that is Uzbekistan. One is that private sector is being given great attention here because the government feels that it will help in greater income growth, more job creation, and also in the area of poverty reduction. So our private sector can also try to go in. I think there is time now really for the private sector to take the plunge and to go spend time there and familiarize themselves. The government in Kazakhstan is trying to make itself available and open. The second aspect is that the increase in petrol prices, in oil prices over the last 1 year or so has provided much more revenue in the hands of the government, and they would be willing to spend that in establishing more industries and more infrastructure. Now coming to Uzbekistan, which is in terms of economy, the second largest economy. If this is 133, 134 billion, then Uzbekistan is 67 billion, about half of that economy. If you take the earlier figure of 240, 250 billion for the Kazakh economy, then of course this is much lesser. But in terms of numbers, in terms of population, and hence in terms of the potential demand, it is a much bigger country in population. It's about 31 million in population. And what is particularly interesting, and I would say exciting as far as Uzbekistan is concerned, is that there is a new administration in Uzbekistan since December of 2016. President Shaukat Mirziyoyev has undertaken a large number of initiatives in the area of economy, and many of these would be of particular interest as far as Indian businessmen are concerned. And here also there are two particular areas. One is pharmaceuticals and the other is textiles, because again Uzbekistan also has very good supplies. I think it is in the top few producers of good quality cotton, and India has a great expertise in this area. So our business could work in the area of textile, fabrics and garments as far as Uzbekistan is concerned, and also pharmaceuticals. There are a large number of new industrial zones. There have been 4 new industrial free economic zones that have been established. There are 161 large industrial projects have been launched. The 12 free economic zones have been launched, and 45 industrial zones have also been inaugurated. This economy has registered a growth of 5.5% in the last year. Earlier, there used to be a great deal of lots of problems in terms of remitting the profits, but now the President Mirziyoyev has made the Uzbek currency convertible, and it has very significantly devalued the currency, as a result of which the availability of foreign exchange has become much freer. And this has been particularly in the area of pharmaceuticals, as I mentioned. The currency reforms have given a new energy as far as the economic outlook of the country is concerned. The government is keen to liberalize the economy, enhance its competitiveness, and to enhance FDI from different countries. It is working towards improving the investment climates. So this provides great possibilities now, because the new administration is determined that it should make full use of the new possibilities. The other two areas where tourism is another area where it is where the government is focusing in a very big way. So if there is, in terms of focusing on infrastructure, building of hotels, building of other tourist facilities, that also is being looked at very, very seriously by the government. Getting visa has always been a problem as far as Uzbekistan is concerned, and I know that our government has been in regular and frequent touch with the Uzbek government, and they have promised that very soon we will be able to see positive results in this. As far as Uzbekistan is concerned, fighting corruption has also been a very major issue, and this is also something that has been taken up by the government. So again, great possibilities as far as Uzbekistan is concerned in a number of areas in which Indian industry has a great strength. Now I see that I'm running. I have already taken about 20 minutes or so. So let me end quickly with saying a few words about Turkmenistan, which is the third largest in terms of area and also in terms of the economy. It has a population of about 6 million, and its economy, its GDP, total GDP is about 36 billion. Its main focus is on agriculture. About 50% of its people are engaged in agriculture, but they account only 14% of the GDP. Cotton and wheat are main items of produce. So here also textiles is a very important, significant aspect. There is Turkmenistan is the world's has the world's fourth largest reserves of gas, and about 31% of its GDP is accounted for by the fossil fuel industry, by the gas industry. Now, most of it, actually 100% of its gas that it is exporting is going to China. Earlier, there were two other markets, Russia and Iran. But on the issue of pricing, Russia stopped importing gas from Turkmenistan about 2 years ago. And at the beginning of 2017, there was a dispute between Iran and Turkmenistan, again on gas pricing and the amount that Iran owed to Turkmenistan. So Turkmenistan does not supply any gas now either to Russia or to Iran. All of it is going to China. And because of the loans that it took, the highly sort of predatory terms of the loans that it took from China, it is really not able to earn much revenue from there. Again, because of the fall in energy prices, there was, it underwent a 23% devaluation in its currency, and its GDP also came down. It has been looking at two major projects. One is known as the Trans-Caspian pipeline to export its gas to Europe, and the other is what is known as TAPI, the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline. It has been able to, it started construction in December 2015 of this pipeline, but both in terms of financing issues and also security, it is a big question mark as to when this pipeline will be constructed, and Trans-Caspian pipeline is all dependent upon determining the status of the Caspian Sea. Still, the country has been able to register about 4 to 5% GDP growth in recent years, and again in areas like pharmaceuticals, textiles, and consumer goods, there are good possibilities as far as these, as far as Turkmenistan is concerned. So let me stop here, because the other two economies, which are Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. Kyrgyzstan is a population of 6 million and a total GDP of 7 billion, which is dependent very much on inward remittances. Tajikistan has a population of 9 million, again with a GDP of about 7 billion, which is again dependent on remittances coming in from Russia. So these are smaller markets, considerably smaller markets, but still they have the, there are niche possibilities in these two markets also. So let me finish here with my opening introductory comments, and let me now invite Mr. Lakshmi Pradhan from KEC International, and he would be making a presentation on behalf of Mr. R.K. Gaur. You have the floor, sir, and to make your points, please.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Grita Varghese, Ambassador Ashok Sazanhar, Mr. Namatullah Karimov, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, a very warm good afternoon to all. First, I would like to introduce myself Lakshminarayan Pradhan. I am looking over marketing and business development activities for CIS International Limited in Central Asia region. I would like to offer the most sincere appreciation to the CII for organizing this webinar on market access and export opportunities to Central Asia. Through this speech or presentation, I would like to give a brief overview of market and export opportunities in Central Asia republics. So in line with the same, my topic is Central Asia republics, market overview and India's engagement with Central Asia republics. Next slide. So first of all, Central Asia's strategic location. As you show, I have, as you can see, I have included this geopolitical map in this slide. So from here you can see this Central Asia republics are got very strategic location between Europe and this Asia. So they act as a bridge between these two continents. Also, based upon this current geopolitical situation, the Central Asian republics need to play or they will play a strategic role in coming years or in the near future. You can see that several international trade corridors like international north-south transport corridor, then this Central Asian Regional Economic SEREC corridor. These all either pass through or touch this Central Asian republics. Also, historically, since this Silk Route times, it acted as a crossroads for traders. So from this, we can conclude Central Asia being placed in the middle of the Eurasian continent. It is also one of the most important routes for transit. Next, now this untapped potential in Central Asia. Central Asian republics, they have rich sources of minerals, especially hydrocarbons. I will take you to the next slide. Here you can see I have indicated this country-wise on the map. This coal, crude oil, gas, hydro potential reserves each country possesses. This is in million tons of oil equivalent. Yeah. So let's go to the previous slide again. So, we have seen in this Central Asian republics, due to existing unfavorable weather conditions for around 3 to 4 months, and also lack of manufacturing industries and the population, there is a huge consumer market, and it still remains to be further explored. All these factors lead to increased interest in Central Asian countries by various countries. So if you look around, you can see that various countries are coming up with their investments in Central Asian countries. So because of all this, many experts feel that in 21st century, Central Asia has a potential to become a major economic bloc. Next, we will see India and Central Asia relationship. India, as an extended neighbor of Central Asian Republic countries, has a major geostrategic and economic interest in this region. India enjoys a healthy and cordial relationship with all the Central Asian republics. It is pertinent to underline that the centuries-old relationship between the India and Central Asian countries has evolved through cultural interaction. However, in the 21st century, in the current context, importance of Central Asia to India is not merely civilization or historical, but also geopolitical and economic. So this can be seen as when we take up this recent trilateral agreement between Iran, India and Afghanistan to develop the Chabahar port, and next this international north-south transport corridor, which is around a 7,200 kilometer long multi-mode network of ship, rail and road route for movement of freight between India, Iran, Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Russia, Central Asian countries and Europe. So if we club this together, together this will connect India to Central Asia, but also it will give a medium or bridge to Central Asia to access South and Southeast Asia and vice versa. Now let's go a little bit more specific to economics. India and Central Asia economic relationship. So if we see past figure, this trade between India and Central Asian countries is continuously increasing. So in this slide, you can see this 2016-17, this trade figures between India and this various Central Asian republics. For example, with Kazakhstan, we have a trade of 642.17 million USD, Uzbekistan 155.51 million USD, and similarly. So total 941.78 million USD. Yeah. In spite of our close historical and cultural links, our economy engagement has been very dismal. As you seen in the previous slide, the current bilateral trade between India and Central Asian Republic in 2016 and 17 is only 941.78 USD million, and there are and also we see there on field there are limited number of Indian companies present in Central Asian countries or joint ventures with local companies, limited numbers. So so far India has been active mainly in infrastructure, education, health and medicine or pharmaceutical in this region. With enhanced economic engagement, India can help build capacities in areas such as agriculture, information technology, service industry, science and technology, and media, which is India is strong at. And conversely, India's increasing need for energy can be addressed by the energy-rich Central Asian countries. And also with improved this transportation networks, which will give a boost to continental trade across this across in between this transcontinental this will benefit India as well as Central Asian republics. Now let's see what investment potential we have in Central Asian countries. The countries of this region provide good investment opportunity for Indian businesses. To facilitate trade and investment with this region, Indian policy makers in the last decade have created an institutional framework. The Indian government has set up bilateral intergovernmental commissions for trade, economic, scientific and technical cooperation with all the Central Asian countries, which have been meeting on regular basis. These relations are further institutionalized through joint working groups in various fields such as IT, science and technology, hydrocarbons, military, technical cooperation, etc. to promote and facilitate trade. Double taxation avoidance agreements have been also signed, which is a boon for trade with Central Asian countries. So in this slide, I have indicated country-wise this sectoral opportunities we have So for example, in Uzbekistan, we have opportunities in the field of energy, minerals, IT, mining, food processing and packaging, textile, machinery and equipment and tourism infrastructure. So accordingly, you can go through each country and these sectors. Next, we have seen that how strategic is Central Asia, what opportunities are there. So now, what are the hurdles, which is restricting us for doing business in the Central Asian republics? So first one is the business visa issues or visa issues. This was also touched by Ambassador Ashok Sajanhar. For example, if we take a business visa, it takes approximately 1 or 2 weeks to get the invitation from Ministry of Foreign Affairs or this immigration department, then another 1 or 2 weeks in India to get the visa stamp. So during this 3 or 4 weeks, our plans would have changed. So in this way, our businessman cannot travel to these Central Asian countries in a very short notice, and this is a major irritant for effectively conducting business. Furthermore, a substantial visa-free and difficulty in acquiring multiple entry visas act as further barriers to trade. For example, if you have visited once and there is no multiple entry visa, so again you have to go through all this process to again enter that country. Next one is remittances. The general observation faced by Indian businessmen is on the difficulties or delays faced by them for remittance of funds. Next, standardization and quality control. So these countries lack standardization, technical regulation and quality control. Next is the work permit. So even if you got your business there, so it's very difficult to get work permit to continue working there. For getting a work permit, first is a long term process. Second, you have to spend thousands of dollars to get that. Then next, you have to hire a substantial number of local peoples, against each expert work permit. So this is. Next, lack of awareness. Another important reason is a chronic lack of adequate and authentic information available in Central Asian republics about the potential and prospects of collaborating with India and vice versa. There is a huge information gap between the two, which keeps them from realizing the full potential of their relationship. So now, what is the way forward for enhancing this economic cooperation with Central Asian countries? So first, improving information gap and banking channels, which will help in expanding trade and investment with Central Asian countries. Next, Central Asia is, as we discussed in earlier slides also, Central Asia is a large consumer market hungry for a range of goods and services which India can provide. Both India and Central Asian republics have economic complementarity in terms of resources, manpower and markets. Means what they need we have and what we need they have. Next, the diverse resources can be pulled for a broader regional cooperation, not just in Central Asia but Asia as a whole, to realize the potential of both the regions fully. So that's so I will end with this my presentation. So at the end, I want to conclude that the outlook for Central Asian for cooperation between India and Central Asian countries is bright, thanks to stable oil prices, improving prospects for the Russian Federation, and rising remittances. Thank you.
Mr. Pradhan, for an excellent presentation, for a very comprehensive and a broad-based presentation where you have given the general economic and political situation in the region, and also specifically you've gone to the different sectors and areas where there is a good possibility of cooperation. This has been extremely helpful and useful. So once again, my compliments to you, and now I turn to Dr. Nematullah Karimov, the managing partner of Grant Thornton in Uzbekistan. Yeah, thank you very much for that question. This is from Mr. Abraham Kuruvilla. Yeah, thank you very much for this question. And on from my side, I can say that particularly in Kazakhstan, which as I mentioned is the largest economy, is the biggest economy, and with the enhancement and increase in energy prices, its economy has also been looking up. It showed a significant increase last year, and coming 2-3 years also World Bank has given the prognosis that it will be expanding at a healthy pace. So it had organized the Expo 2017 in Astana last year, and the only country in Central Asia which has organized the Expo. And it ran for 3 months from June till September, and it had several million footfalls, and the focus of Expo 17 was renewable energy. Now some people might be quite surprised that this is a country which is so rich in oil, gas, uranium, etc. So why is it also looking at renewable energy? Because it is the population, the 17-18 million population, is in different pockets all over the country, and there it becomes difficult for pipelines to be laid. So it is really looking at smaller renewable energy projects. And I think there is the Kazakhstan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They are extremely helpful in this, and I'm sure we could be in touch with our embassies in these countries. They would be able to provide us with information. These embassies have also over recent years become extremely proactive, and promoting business to business ties has become the top priority as far as these embassies are concerned. So this request that has been placed, I'm sure that can be shared with our missions in these countries, and we can seek the response, particularly in the areas that you have mentioned, renewable energy, Internet of Things, and ICT software, and some other areas. Yes, that can definitely be taken forward.
So the next question is language a problem to deal with, or English enough business to do business?
Well, let me put it, this is again a question by Mr. Abraham Kurovilla, and he's asked, is language a problem to deal with, or is English enough to do business? Let me put it this way, let me respond. English is not enough to do business. However, I will not say that language is a problem to deal, because there are ways available, there are interpreters available, and English is getting spoken increasingly. So it is not if you know only English, then and you hope that you will be able to go there to any of these countries and be able to get along, that is not possible. You will have to have local help, and I can tell you that our embassies will be extremely happy to work with you and to provide you with inexpensive and reasonably priced interpreters for going to your prospective business partners. So language is not an issue that should dissuade our people, because of course, if you know Russian is commonly spoken by each and every one, although the language of 4 of these countries, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and Kyrgyzstan, are basically Turkic based languages, and it's only the Tajik language which is more based on Farsi or Dari language of Afghanistan. So if someone knows Russian, then there is no problem as far as operating in all these 5 countries are concerned. But otherwise, you can get interpreters, reasonably priced interpreters when you go there, and need of interpreters is at least right now felt essential. Although all the young people, they are going out and they are studying in the United States, in other Western countries, and they are well versed as far as English is concerned, but still just English is not adequate.
There's another question. As you know, we are into manufacturers of herbal tea, hair oils, and handmade. So he's basically asking about product.
Yeah, so this is a question from Mr. Arun Prakash, and his query is, we are into manufacture of herbal teas, hair oils, and handmade soaps. Now, let me say this, that, particularly as far as Kazakhstan is concerned, Kazakhstan is a huge market for black tea. But it has been increasingly, now it has been diversifying also into green tea, into herbal tea, and into flavored teas. Still, I think about 75% of our production of Assam tea is still exported to Kazakhstan, or the exportable surplus of Assam tea. 75% of that is exported to Kazakhstan. But in recent years, over the last decade or so, we have been losing our market to both to Kenyan teas, and also to Sri Lankan teas. Dilma tea and all, they have made inroads into the Kazakh market, but otherwise Kazakhstan is a huge market. I think we really need to devise strategies, devise road shows in terms of promoting our own teas, whether it is herbal teas. And I think now herbal teas, if they are suitably promoted, if they are suitably packaged, then, and as also having some health benefits, I think they would have great possibilities and great potential. As far as hair oils and handmade soaps are concerned, again, I would say that we need to go there, our people need to go there and expose themselves to that market. And particularly, this is what I mentioned also in terms of the huge information deficit that exists between these countries and India. And the way to overcome that, the way to get over that, would really be to participate in the trade fairs and in the trade shows. Let me also mention, I remember that when I was ambassador in Kazakhstan, we started first that we got about 100 companies to come and have an India show there in Almaty. And when it covered a large number of areas, including consumer goods, including furniture, including textiles, carpets, rice, mangoes, across the board. And it was so successful. We had asked the mayor of Almaty to come and inaugurate it. It was so successful that I'm told now there are several of such only India specific shows, exhibitions and sales that are held, I think, in about 5 or 6 cities of Kazakhstan, and obviously they are extremely successful. That is why they are continuing and they are expanding. So, the items that you have mentioned, hair oils, handmade soaps, that is, I think, ideal for going in for such programs, but also, in addition to this, also going ahead and participating in trade fairs and trade shows, and either generalized or more specifically dealing with these subjects.
So there's another question. This is from Muhammad Sharik. We want to know the status of electronic industry in Central Asia.
Yeah, so there is a question from Mr. Muhammad Sharik, and he has said that he would like to know the status of electronic industry in the Central Asian republics. What I can say is that the young people there are extremely where into, they are technology savvy, and there is a great deal, and since there is prosperity that is taking place, that is come about because of the availability of fossil fuels, oil, gas, at least in these three countries. Let me also mention, I did not have time to speak about Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, but they also are potentially extremely rich because they have huge reserves of hydropower potential, and now with the assistance of the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank, they are also harnessing these resources very, very efficiently. So there also they would have great possibilities. The youth in these countries is all very tech savvy. So as far as imports are concerned, or as far as local manufacture of items to the extent possible, they are going into that in a big way. And the bigger the economy, the more prosperous the economy. And in descending order, it would be Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan. There would be much greater possibility depending upon which end of the segment that you are engaged in.
So the next question is on,
Logistics. We have this question from Mr. Gurminder Malik, and he says the major hurdle is logistics to CIS. Can you share with us some understanding on shipment of containers up to Kazakhstan? Currently, the rates are more than double. You have touched a very important point, Mr. Malik, as far as logistics is concerned. But before I respond in substantive terms to your question, let me also mention that there are other countries, there are other countries which are far away, like Israel, like South Korea, like Japan, like some of the Southeast Asian countries, which also have similar logistic problems. One of the major reasons why our business relations with the Central Asian countries are not so dynamic or so robust is that we do not have land connectivity with them. But I'll make 2 points. One is that there are other countries also which do not have land connectivity, and they, through their projects, are able to, through their investments, are able to strengthen the relations with these countries. The second is what Mr. Lakshmi Pradhan had mentioned also, and that's a very valid point, that now India has developed the Chabahar port. You would remember that in 2016, May 2016, when Prime Minister Modi had gone to Iran, then a trilateral agreement was signed between Afghanistan, Iran and India, and Chabahar port was to be developed. And it's a matter of great satisfaction that within a year we have been able to complete the first phase of this project, so that the capacity of the port has been enhanced from 2.5 million tons to 8.5 million tons. And we have already shipped the first consignment of 50,000 tons of wheat to Afghanistan. And Iran has already started construction of the railway line between Zahedan and Mashhad. So the Chabahar, use of the Chabahar port to reach Central Asian countries, that provides a great possibility, huge potential. Also from Bandar Abbas, which is a port that is next door, we have the International North-South Transport Corridor. Now some of you might say that that is a project that was started much earlier in the late 1990s, but I can tell you that more work has been done on that project over the last 18 months than has been done over the last 18 years. So there also things are moving fast, and our connectivity with the Central Asia will be enhanced, will get better. At the moment, how we have been supplying tea, etc., is to send the containers to China, and from there they are sent over land route to Kazakhstan and to other countries. The more valuable consignments like pharmaceuticals, etc., small volume, small weight consignments, they are shipped by air. Otherwise, we have also had to, perforce have had to send our consignments to Rotterdam, and from there via the north distribution network they come to Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, etc. So I agree with you, logistics is a problem, but things are being done to take care of that. And if we can go not only in terms of trade but also in terms of investment, then I think this has good possibilities in the short term and also going forward.
This is Chaitanya Kuntal from Gujarat. To know about opportunity for supplying gear component, basically heavy and light commercial vehicles from India. What's the scope?
Yeah, agriculture is, as I had mentioned also in my presentation, agriculture has huge possibilities, and Kazakhstan particularly, which has the largest land territory, land area, and it also has arable land, about I think more than 20-25% of its arable land is lying virgin and it has not been used as yet. They have been importing most of their agricultural machinery from the West, you know, like the big John Deere tractors and so on and so forth, because agriculture there is quite mechanized. So again here, you know, or at a macro level to respond to your query, yes, there is potential, but specifically in terms of what are the makes and what are the what is the capacity of the agricultural machinery where your components might be required, whether these are OEMs, etc. I think you'll really have to go there and touch base, be in contact with the people who are dealing with this. And in all this, I'm sure the embassies would be happy to provide you with the assistance, with the contacts, and get you in touch with those companies. And that would be true of Kazakhstan, of Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, which are largest countries. Both Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan are more mountainous and hilly countries and not too much of agricultural land. So the potential for your products would by and large be in these three big countries. Yes.
So the next question is scope of, the person wants to know the scope of dairy products in Central Asia.
Dairy products in Central Asia. Yes, Central Asia is a huge importer of dairy products from as diverse countries as Finland and Belarus. Because, and again, let me also say that as the levels of prosperity increase, also their needs, demands and requirements for more varied types of daily use and consumables increases. So different types of cheeses that are coming from there. Also in this, although we are discussing dairy products, let me also mention that there is huge potential for Indian wines in these countries, because they have started becoming quite westernized, and drinking wine, thank you, drinking wine has become very, very popular, like in the West, like in Europe. Having a glass of red wine or white wine with food is become a matter of habit, a matter of practice. So, when we are having more focus on wines in India also, so I think that has great possibility. But let me come back to dairy products. Yes, different varieties of whether it is cookies or it is cheese or it is cream. These are also getting increasingly popular, and different varieties are getting increasingly popular, and demand is increasing. Okay, 4 minutes.
So there's another question, basically potential of manufacturing of LED light bulbs, energy meter, UPS, power supplies, basically, energy.
Yeah, all these items that you have mentioned, and I can say definitely that there is good potential, because these are big countries. I remember that since these are cold countries also, by and large, there is a lot of snow in Kazakhstan, in Uzbekistan, also in Turkmenistan, desert areas. So all these have good potential. Also heating elements, heaters, domestic heaters for installation in buildings, or mobile compact heaters. All of these have good potential, and you will be able to establish contact with your counterparts. Again, I would repeat by saying that participate in trade fairs, trade shows. Sorry, I didn't read your question, so the others who are listening to might not have might be aware. The question again from Mr. Mohammed Sharik is, do you see manufacturing of LED, UPS or LED lights, energy meter, UPS, power supplies? Yes. So my response in a nutshell is yes. Across this whole board of items, and particularly since the countries are trying to diversify from their single sort of focus and reliance on energy. So all of these would have good possibilities. Yeah, good. So let me thank Greta, you and all your colleagues, and everyone who has been a part of this webinar session, and of course all your team here in Delhi who have very valiantly put this whole event together in cooperation and collaboration with you. I do sincerely hope that this has been helpful and this has been useful, and my compliments to you once again for this very commendable initiative. For me, it has been a pleasure to interact with you. Thank you very much.